Well, hello, Tony Waag here, and welcome to TapTV. This presentation, called Tap Masters, Tap Mentors, is one of my favorite productions that I produced way back in 2001 at the first Tap City. It was a remarkable night, cast of thousands, tributes to our mentors, many of which were still around. There's performances in this production of even with like Jimmy Slide, LaVaughn Robinson, Prince Spencer. There are tributes to Brenda Buffalino, Honey Coles, Cookie Cook, Buster Brown, Eddie Brown, Leon Collins. I mean, it goes on and on and on. And like I said, cast of thousands, there are so many appearances here. People were hanging from the rafters, and I'm very proud of this production. So please sit back and enjoy Tap Masters, Tap Mentors from Tap City 2001.
I'm Tony Waag, the producer of Tap City 2001, the New York City Tap Festival. Thank you all for coming. Thank you very much for coming, and thank you for being so patient. The earlier show did run over because we have quite a show for you tonight. We are honoring our masters and our mentors. And, you know, let me just take a moment, because there's a special person in the audience, and when you're thinking about masters and mentors, sometimes you forget your parents. My mom is out there, and I haven't even seen her yet. Where are you? Where are you? There you are. Okay, Mom, now I can relax. And my two sisters, Cindy and Stephanie. Monday night, we did a program called Tap Kids. We had 67 kids perform here tonight. Absolutely amazing. And last night was a program called Tap Internationals. And we had beautiful dancers from Brazil, Israel, Germany, Japan, Estonia, I'm forgetting a few. Portugal, France, New Jersey. I couldn't help it. I think Yvette's out there too. Okay, so let's get on with the show. This is an evening to tribute our masters. So all the beautiful dancers here tonight have learned so much, and it's so thrilling that there are actually 4 or 5 that are actually still with us. So it's a wonderful opportunity to pay tribute to the ones that are still here.
Yes.
Like Buster Brown, who's 88. Where are you? There he is. I want to, at this moment, just thank Barbara Duffy, who put this all together. She was very instrumental with that. Thank you, Barbara. Let's go on with the show.
Yay! Go squirrel! My baby.
Good evening. I'm Jermaine Ingram. I'm really pleased tonight to have the opportunity to talk about my mentor, LaVaughn Robinson. You know, I think that mentoring well is not something that comes naturally to people. It takes time and persistence and energy to learn things that create the essence of that special role. It takes time to learn when to listen and when to speak. It takes time to learn when to rescue and when not to. It takes time to learn when to bear down and when to let up. It takes time to know when to create constraints and when to encourage the bird to fly away. It takes time to know when to mentor and when to allow yourself to be mentored. And for those of us who are mentored, there's an equally difficult and demanding learning process for us. So I'm just really pleased to say that I've had the opportunity over these last 20 years to learn and be taught by a wonderful artist, and someone with a large and generous heart. And a very special mentor, LaVon Robinson.
Jacob Kaluski was my master, my teacher, an Israeli mentor. He taught me anything I know. He was strict and precise, but he had the ability to put any actor on stage that will just look great. At this point, I would like to introduce my company, Tap Tel Aviv, with Ofer Ben and me, Ava Miller, with a piece named It's Not Been a Thing If It Ain't Got a Swing.
I'm Barbara Duffy. I have this little paper because I don't want to forget anything that I want to say about Leon. Leon Collins had a successful performing career in the 30s and 40s, dancing with really wonderful, great bands such as Duke Ellington and Count Basie. When the popularity of tap died out, he stopped dancing for 14 years. And he began to teach and perform again in the mid-70s in Boston until he died in 1985. I was lucky enough to be there during that time. And in fact, I was going to give up dancing, and he moved his studio across the alley from my apartment. So I think that was God. I believe so. Leon had clear, crisp taps, and he had a very special quality of sound, and he loved to dance to classical music. We have on his tape a beautiful piece from Flight of the Bumblebee. He created, as a teacher, he was patient, he was encouraging, and he used to say to students, if he was listening and you were working real hard, he'd say, "I hear you, honey." And I was just thrilled if he said that to me. Oh my God, I was so thrilled. And he created a lot of routines for us to practice, to learn about tone, about musicality, about singing our rhythms. So we'd like to do 53 tonight, which is an a cappella piece, and it's one of my favorite. And I've passed it on to this group of people, and it's the first time we're doing it all together. One, two, three, four.
Gaines. Hey! Or Leslie Bubba Gaines, as he called himself when he introduced himself to me in 1980. It's difficult to talk about Bubba Gaines in a few words because he did so very much for my life, had such an impact, a great mentor, wonderful teacher, and a good friend. But even though he was a man of few words, Bubba was always very passionate about his tap dancing. And he was so very unselfish in what he passed on to me. And don't get him talking about the great other tap dancers of his time. And of course, two in particular, Pye and Hutch, who were his partners, the three Dukes, who toured all over Europe. These were people that were very dear to Bubba's heart. But you know, I must say that dancing was just a very small part of what Bubba passed on to me. He had a way of making sure that I knew that I was going to be all right. He always encouraged me, and he would say, don't worry about it. Take a load off your feet. Tomorrow is another day. It's going to be all right. In fact, the way he looked at life could be summed up pretty much in the words of this little song and dance. Grab your coat and get your hat. Leave your worry on the doorstep and direct your feet to the sunny side of the street. Can't you hear a pitter pat? And that happy tune is your step. Life can be so sweet on the sunny side of the street. Then he do a little thing like a. The three Dukes. Now, like with all groups, you love those who are working with you, but Bubba had a very special relationship with a young man named Hutch. He said to me, you know, Hutch was one of those dancers that when you see them perform, you say he has a natural gift, that real charming thing that you just can't put your finger on. And whenever he performed, he would do a little dance that he created called the rope dance. And Bubba and Pye would be bookends on each side of Hutch. He said, boy, that little Hutch, every time he did that rope, he said, boy, it was wonderful. But you know, like so many of the artists of those days, they saw a lot of heartache. And Hutch used to say to Bubba all the time, oh man, listen, I'm gonna be doing this for a long time, and when it's finished, you're gonna see me again. Well, Bubba had to identify Hutch before he was 21 years old because he died from a drug overdose. This touched Bubba very deeply, and a man who did not show his emotions very much, I could see them come through then. But the day that he came over to Newark, New Jersey to watch me, he turned around, he looked at me, and he said, you know, Hutch told me not to worry about him because one day I would see him again. He said, when I looked at you and saw the spark in your eyes and the love you had for what you were doing, I said, Kevin, I see him again. And he said, but you didn't tell me to be a little girl. So as Bubba was saying, I'm going down the runway, going to do this thing one more time. I know how he feels. I did this in the first show. Now I'm going to do it again. So he reached down in his bag, in his dance bag, and he pulled out a rope. And he said, now listen, this one is for you. So now tonight, I'm going to say to Bubba, because he's here, this one, Bubba, is for you.
All right, Debbie.
Hello? Is this working? Oh, okay. I can't hear myself.
You're working, Jane.
Yeah. I have a bum knee, that's why I have my cane, but I wanted to be part of this festival and get it fixed after the festival, so. And canes are sometimes things that tap dancers have used to dance with. Not me. Anyway, I came here to honor Charles Cookie Cook with some of my colleagues, and I just want to say Cookie used to call me Gates. He called a lot of people Gates. He'd always say, "Hey Gates." I saw him perform with his partner Brownie of the act Cook and Brown in 1977 in Great Feats of Feet up in New Paltz, New York, and that's when I first got turned on to watching Cookie performed, and I just wanted to be, do comedy with him and perform with him, and he just he sort of saw me as his Shirley Temple, and we had an act together that we performed for the Sita Artists Project. Remember Sita? Sita Pumpkin Ita is what Cookie used to say. Comprehensive Employment Training Act. But it actually gave us a lot of work, and we also toured the country and reintroduced tap dancing to a lot of audiences in the mid-70s, the 1970s. I just have to read this because I don't want to forget something. He's known to everyone as Cookie, and he's the everyman of tap. He could recite Shakespeare in tap, catch his crazy hats on his head while he tapped, do comedy, choreograph, perform, and he taught marvelously. He brought his friends to class and was inclusive, always making sure his students knew about the Copacetic Ball and the boat ride and the Easter all-night bash. He always had some new dance up his sleeve, too. He was a real Renaissance man. And when he was doing his standards, he always had something new, too. He had a dance called I Remember Hanya to Joe Beam's Bossa Nova Wave, and he choreographed a dance that I loved very much and performed with him, and we're going to perform it tonight, Breezing Along with the Breeze. And we remember Cookie with Breezing Along with the Breeze.
I'm just breezing along with the breeze, trailing the rails, roaming the sea, like the birds that sing in the trees, pleasing to live, living to please. The sky is the only roof I have over my head, and when I'm weary, Mother Nature makes me a bed. I'm just going along as I please. breeze, make away, Goldberg.
Was a wonderful mentor. Studying with all of these guys was quite an incredible experience. The wisdom in the rooms was a treat. Cookie used to always say, do it your own way. Always, always do it your own way. I worked with Steve Condos Steve Condos, in 1989 on the piece that we're going to be doing later in the show. And it was set for my company, Manhattan Tap, and we did a show at the Village Gate with him. And at that time, I was a new choreographer, and I said to him, Steve, you know, you guys used to do 15-minute sets. I got to put together a 2-hour show. What do I do? And he said, you got to be really good, and you have to have a lot of ideas. Zen and the art of tap dancing. But what I'd like to talk to you now is Eddie Brown, another great mentor. Yes, Eddie Brown. Eddie started in the business when he was 19 in not too shabby a show, Bill Bojangles Robinson's show. And he got the job by doing an audition And at the audition, he did Bill Robinson's routine, which at that time, it's a little different these days. Nowadays we cop it from a video, but at that time he learned it from a gramophone. So Bill was suitably impressed and gave him the job, and he stayed in the show until it went out to the West Coast and it was heading south. He got a little worried about taking the show down south, so he jumped off tour and stayed in San Francisco and ended up living out his life on the West Coast and inspiring many dancers out there. While he was in New York, he went to Small's Paradise. He was 19. He was a flash dancer, and for the first time he saw rhythm tap, and he got the bug, and he decided that's the way I want to dance. And he was thinking about it, and he said, you know, Heather, I figured this out. I was a flash dancer. I danced really fast. Rhythm tap was a swinging, slower tempo. So what he did is he took all his flash steps, did them double time to the tempo, and then he was a rhythm dancer. Good way to figure it out. When he was out in San Francisco and then in LA for many years, he went on to create his own style of rhythm tap, which was elegant, thick, very thick rhythmically, and had a lot of heels. He was the master of dropping his heels. He really embraced this. Rhythm tap is dropping the heels. He also inspired many tap dancers. And taking class from him was really a wonderful experience because he made everyone feel like they could tap dance and they wanted to tap dance. He called everybody in the class kiddies. So, if you got it right, he'd say, hey kiddies, that's it. And he was really good at making everybody's names into nicknames. I was Heavy, and Lynn, I think, was Linny. Linda was Lindy. And he had a laugh to die for. Josh, you around? Josh does it best. That was his laugh.
He always said, dig it.
And he said, dig it.
Dig it.
So what I'd like to do for you tonight is a number that Eddie and I worked on for a long time, back in 1989 again. And through the process of working with him, I was just in awe of the complexity of the rhythms that he would come up with and the variance of them. It was just like a new rhythm every 10 seconds. And in my constant search for the key to tap dancing, the world of tap dancing, I said, Eddie, you gotta tell me, how do you come up with these rhythms? And he looked at me and he said, well, Hetty, it's those little men in my head talking to me. So, to Eddie and to your little men, this one's for you.
That's right, ladies, sitting around.
Eddie Brown was such a fine teacher and such a spirited dancer. There are so many of us actually who were fortunate to study with him on the West Coast because he taught all up and down the coast for over 20 years. But what's really special about this next dance is it's a dance he made for all his students. Everybody that studied with him learned this dance and was encouraged to pass it on. And so the performance you're going to see right now is really an international cast of Eddie Brown's BS Chorus. before with glasses, but maybe I should just do it again with glasses. I'm so happy to be here. And I'd like to dedicate, this number to Judy Slide.
Yes. Yes.
Judy Slide is somewhere here.
Yeah. Behind you.
Yes.
Yeah, Judy. never
What were you
do.
saying? I don't hear any
Jimmy Slide, the dancer. Jimmy Slide, Mr. Swing. Jimmy Slide, my sweet partner. You are a master for many, a mentor for many, and an inspiration for all. This is for Jimmy from his family in Paris.
Yes.
I used to send Jimmy many letters. Some of them were quite strong.
Did you get many answers?
Just like the telephone.
Jimmy, when you talked, I strained to listen, and I heard your words. They went through my mind, down to my toes, and they filled my heart. Someday, perhaps someone will call my name. I will speak, and they will have to strain to listen. I think they'll hear my voice as I heard yours.
Yeah.
Thank you for the time spent in spreading so much joy, so we can all breathe it and love it.
Yes, yes.
This is really for Jimmy. 22 years ago. A small chateau.
I remember
Not
that.
a big chateau, a small chateau, 2 hours from Paris. There were about 100 students, and we were all sitting in a little chapel. On the stage, one microphone, like this one, Michael Silver on the drums.
Yes, sir.
You hummed a tune, and I played it for you on the piano.
I think you did.
You loved that tune. You danced, and the sun came out. Well, today, many beautiful people,
Yes.
a lovely theater,
Yeah.
the legacy lives on.
Yeah.
Do you...
I love those words.
Yes, Slide.
Come on, Lou.
We have 3 generations here, and my mentor is Sarah.
Whoa, this is a pretty inspiring act to follow. You know, the reason why my life turned out to be this way, meaning I became a tap dancer, is because in 1979 I saw Jimmy Slide in the south of France where I was born. He came to a jazz festival, and I didn't know quite yet this is what I was going to do, but I became this along the line. And the reason why I do what I do is because, you know, the most important thing is freedom, and that's what he means to me. Freedom. That's what I see.
Is this a graduate level course in educated feet or what? Ladies and gentlemen, my name is Susan Abnett-Doskisel. My job is to introduce my mentor, tap legend Prince Spencer.
Yay!
In 70 words or less. Now, Prince said to me, Susan, make it simple. Just say, here's the legendary tap dancer Prince Spencer. He's 84 years old. Been there, done that. But I'm going to add just a little bit more. I cannot think of anyone I'd be more proud to introduce. Not only is he a devoted, loving father and husband, an excellent administrator and manager. You try being patient for 18 years with a boss as ornery as Red Fox. A choreographer, as Charlie Atkins reminded me to mention.
All right.
A 39-year member of what was probably the world's greatest opening act in show business, the Four Step Brothers. He is also a wonderful tap teacher, a boss I look forward to seeing every day, one of the most down-to-earth, greatest humanitarians I have ever met, with a great sense of humor, and a heck of an all-around wonderful entertainer. Ladies and gentlemen, I am honored to introduce to you from Las Vegas, Mr. Prince Spencer.
Yeah!
Thank you. You made an elder statesman feel very happy. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
I'm going to take just about a minute or so to tell you about myself. Susan did a beautiful job, but I'm going to say that I'm 84 years old. I've been married for 47 years. And I think I can share this with you. I've known you a little while. That's before I came to New York. My wife and I were having a glass of champagne, and after the champagne, well, I made love to my wife. And I gotta tell you this, I gave the performance of my life. Almost woke her up. I just thought I would kind of throw that in. Probably should throw it out. I'm going to do a dance, a little dance. That I enjoy doing. I like doing it, so because I ain't got no body.
All right.
Hello, I'm Brenda Bufalino. So I'm very happy to be here for so many reasons tonight. See your whole history pass in front of you and in back of you. But I'm especially happy to present my mentor, Charles Honeycomb. I think I was one of the lucky ones because he was with me for so long. I walked into his studio, Dance Craft, that he had with Pete Nugent when I was 17 years old in 1955. And soon after the studio closed, he went to the Apollo, hung up his shoes, and but we found each other 14 years later and began working together as an act. And it was always under intense scrutiny with Honeycombs. I wouldn't say he was an easy mentor. His favorite word was wrong. But we had the pleasure of working many places, and finally, even after he had his stroke, he continued to work with us. And fortunately, Tap came back in time for him to receive the Drama Desk Award, the Fred Astaire Award, the Tony Award, and the President's Medal of Arts Award for his dancing. So after he had his stroke, he was commissioned by the Colorado Dance Festival to create a piece, which I was to be his legs, which was kind of funny because mine were very short. They grew lately; they're much longer now. And in that residency was Asia Gray, and Asia learned the rock and rhythm dance, and then taught it to her protege, who is in their company of Tapestry. And they will be doing that tonight. And Tony Waag and I will be doing the Coles and Bufalino soft shoe, as different than the Coles and Atkins soft shoe. There are two soft shoes, both to the same song of Taking a Chance on Love. And of course, with Honey Coles, everybody always felt it was taking a chance on love. And so I'd like to do a little recitative now, since both he and I did recitatives in our concert performance. And he did his for Bilbo Jangles Robinson, and I'll do for Honeycomb. Just as sweet as honey, and that was his name. A song and a dance man, that was his game. He had a stylish approach. He never came on too strong. That charming and elegant gentleman of song. The only trouble was, as fast as his feet were, like a butterfly could be. But the dance was over before it began. We never got enough of that dance again. He was a king, but he never had to prove it. He could tell the saddest, baddest, oldest jokes, and you folks out there would love him. Tall as a pine tree that bends in the breeze, he had a generous smile he always aimed to please. He lit up this stage like a silver flame. This stage without Honeycombs will never be the same. So here's to you who taught us so well to sing and to dance, your story to tell. Yum.
He's a busy man. You should do it, Tony. Here we go now. This is not an easy dance.
The vet. Bring in the vet. Well, now, of course, it's only natural that we pay tribute to my mentor, Brenda Buffalino. Okay. I met Brenda in 1976, I believe, straight out of high school. And a good friend of mine, Diane Montgomery, said, Tony, if you want to take a tap class, you really should take this tap class with Brenda Buffalino. I'm bringing her from New York, along with Cookie Cook and Bubba Gaines. And then after that, Honey Coles is coming through with Bubbling Brown Sugar to Denver, and we should go see that show. Well, so I took classes with Brenda, Cookie, and Bubba, and we went to see Honey, and we called Honey and said, you know, we're tap dancers, we're coming to see you. And Honey said, well, good, we'll have dinner after the show. This is the type of thing that shows the generosity of this gentleman, and then it was handed down to Brenda. Brenda Buffalino, I then moved to New York, and I said, I'm going to find that Buffalo woman. Those old black guys and that buffalo woman. And believe it or not, and I didn't know how to get in touch with her. I ran into her the first day I started walking the streets of New York. And she said, well, why don't you start studying with me at Faisal's? To make a long story short, I started studying with Brenda, and then I approached her once. I had a lot of nerve back then. I guess I still do, huh? And I said to her, gee, I don't know why we've never worked together. And she said, oh, really? Anyway, we formed the American Tap Dance Orchestra, and Honey Coles wrote out the first check. I'll never forget it. He gave me a check for $500, and he said, go do it. And so Brenda and I started, and we formed the American Tap Dance Orchestra, and then later on we formed the ITDO, the International Tap Dance Orchestra. And now, 15 years later, we have just formed the OTDO. I call it the Other Tap Dance Orchestra. So this is a tribute to Brenny, my little Brenny, Brenda Buffalino. This is for you. This is the greatest hits.
Good evening. I'm Lorraine Condos. And I have a message from Steve in his own words. Make practice your best friend. It was 1989 and Brenda Buffalino's studio, Woodpeckers, had just opened. Heather Cornell of Manhattan Tap was rehearsing there, and Heather had asked Steve previously if he would choreograph a number for her company. Well, did Steve ever say no? I don't recall it. And all the time that I knew him, which was about 30 years. At any rate, the studio was located on Mercer Street. And that was, actually, the studio was at basement level. And that may have inspired Steve to name the number you are about to see tonight, Grounded. It is with great pride that I introduce the artists performing tonight in Steve's honor. Musicians, Frank Kimbrough.
Yes.
Ben Allison on bass. And dancers couldn't be without him, Mr. Eddie Ornowski on drums. Tap dancers, Chicago, Jeannie Hill, Max Pollock, and Marshall Davis Jr.
Good, guys.
Ladies and gentlemen, Mr. Marshall Davis. I feel particularly honored at this point to talk about our eldest master, Mr. Buster Brown. Tonight is special for many reasons. We are honoring the people who gave us so much. On and off the boat. I first saw Buster in Chicago. And I was really amazed at how much of himself he gave. The beginning of my career, hadn't even decided that I wanted to be a tap dancer. He helped a lot. I saw a man who could help me laugh, and a man who could help me ponder serious thoughts. Things that sometimes made me cry, but not for sorrow, for joy. All right. Lord, I love you, Buster. One thing that I do remember when I heard Q was every time I heard him get to a break, I would count to 4. It wasn't until I came to New York that I found out I should have been counting to 8. But that's love. Because it was Buster, Chuck, Green, George, Hillman, Ralph, Brown, Jimmy Slide, and Buster, who taught me how to count. There's supposed to be 2 bars in there, musical bars. So what I want to do tonight, a number entitled 4. Because when I first met you, Buster, I thought I knew how to count. I knew how to count to 4. Until they slapped me upside the head and told me how to count to 8. stand here. You just stand here. Be beautiful. You're the only person that can be more beautiful than me. Ladies and gentlemen, that's right. That's right. If you're sitting down, you're wrong. LaVaughn Robinson. LaVaughn, come here. Jimmy, slide. Jimmy, slide. Come here. Who else here? Prince Spencer. When you see him, don't find yourself sitting down. That's right. Take a bow. Take a bow, Masters. Masters, take a bow. Masters, please. Jimmy Side, Buster Brown, LaVaughn Robinson, Prince Spencer. Please, take a bow. Yeah. Yeah. And y'all, excuse me, but they have done their dance and they ain't showing us up no more tonight. So y'all can stand over to the side while Tony Waag leads us in the Shim Sham, that one routine that the Brotherhood actually created for the Brotherhood, Sisterhood. I heard you, man. You didn't even say that. I heard her thinking. I heard. So the Masters, y'all just sit back and take it. Yeah, we get the company on board for the Shim Sham while Tony Waag. Don't dance a step. What's that? Don't dance a step. You're right. Don't dance a step.